Hello and welcome everybody to today's edition of Forex Daily Dimes, and we have a Forex Showdown here for you today, and we have a couple special guests that we're going to dive into here today. And as I bring these guys on, we're going to talk about the financial markets, mainly the Forex market. We may get into some other markets as well, and just different ways and different strategies. The topic of this show here is there's many strategies in the financial markets. And when you have strategies, there's always one common theme that we find for consistency. And as we talk about this today, I have two special guests here today, Mr. Alex Perna and Walker England. How you guys doing today?
Doing great, man. Put me up against a Texas trader. What are you doing to me, Josh? What are you doing to me? Hey,
sometimes that Texas trader's got a cup. He's got a little owl up his hat. Is that what it's called? Who's trend? How you guys doing?
Doing great. Fantastic.
Good. Nice. As we go into the show here today, I just want to make sure that we all know there is risk in trading and investing. You can, and at one point, potentially could lose some money in the markets. Well, as we talk about today, there's a common theme where consistency can help traders and investor, and we're going to talk about that today. And past performance is not indicative to future results. So as we get into the show here today, let's start with you, Walker. Let's talk about your trading and investing strategy. What type of strategy do you have, time frames that you use, and certain things that you may look at? Let's dive into that right away.
Well, I think I'm going to shock everybody here, Josh, and say that I typically start off with the fundamentals. And I know everybody wants to just jump on every chart and just start gunslinging away. But sometimes you have to take a step back and look at the broader perspective, especially when it comes to foreign exchange.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the fundamentals, are you talking more news, or what are you exactly talking about?
Well, there's typically three things that I'm going to look for in terms of fundamentals. And the biggest one is going to be headline risk and news. And that incorporates everything from tweets to Bureau and Labor Statistic news to, I don't know, your latest headline, fires, earthquakes. You kind of get that opinion that, hey, maybe there's some trouble, maybe things are going well. Where do I want to park my money? So that's typically going to be the first big thing that I look at.
Okay, with everything that's happening right now, so what are some of the things that you're focusing on now with these current market conditions? What's happening in this world? What are you focusing on now then?
Well, it's kind of shifted, and I know it's hard to say with C19 being the big issue in the market, but let's be honest. I don't want to talk about politics, but there's one thing on everybody's mind here in the United States, and that's the election risk. Yeah. And frankly, I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on. Let's all agree to make some money, and let's agree that it could really affect the price action from Forex all the way down to other markets around the world.
Got it. So with a lot of the fundamentals, how about you, Alex? When you're, making your decisions in the financial markets, do you focus on the fundamentals as well? Are you more technical?
The fundamentals, like Walker was saying, always play a part. I mean, when you're talking about the elections, you have the volatility risk that we have to watch out for. So, whether we think it's going to go up and down, I think most of us can agree that there's going to be a lot of movement. So, of course, knowing that can help set up context. But as far as my day-to-day kind of trading goes, I lean more towards the technicals. I like relative strength. I kind of allow the fundamentals to build into price, and then allow price to just kind of tell me, okay, overall dollars are getting stronger, or yen is getting stronger, so let me go that way. So not so much of using the fundamentals for buy and sell signals, but it's always there in the backdrop.
Got it. Okay, so do you have sharing capabilities right now?
I do, yeah.
If you want to share your screen, just kind of walk through, and as you're doing that, I'll kind of explain a couple of things. Just kind of walk through your decision process. I mean, do you use multiple time frames? Is it one time frame? You mentioned, I believe, sentiment, stuff like that, relative strength. Just kind of explain your decision process on that, if you could share your screen.
Yeah, I can't share my screen. Can you enable that for me?
There you go. That's enabled.
Cool. I should.
That's the great thing about live YouTube is you got to do it on the fly.
That's it. But we're here. We're getting it.
There you go.
All right. So you can see my screen, right? So
looks good.
Awesome. So I mentioned that I do a lot of relative strength stuff. So just kind of maybe starting with it, I post this stuff on Twitter, but every day at normally around 7 p.m. Eastern time, I'll post a relative strength analysis. So this is what I was talking about a minute ago, right? So I brought up dollar and yen, right? So you can just see that they're at the top of this scale here. So I'm, as far as trading goes, I'm looking to pair dollar and yen with some of the weaker ones kind of at the bottom, pound, CAD, euro, even Aussie, not a lot of, I skipped the Swiss because not a lot of people really like that currency, but you could even look at pairs like that. So, as far as the technical approach goes, my strategy is overall kind of going in the direction of this relative strength here. So, looking at something like, I don't know, you've got strong dollars, you got weak pounds. So just kind of looking at that.
So you're kind of basing that off of what is weak right now, what is strong right now, where can I find some opportunities? Is that more shorter term then?
This can be set to really any time frame. I am longer term for my specific trading, so I am looking for moves that would last weeks. These larger trends that I'm trying to pinpoint could even last for months. So this is more of it's not day trading, but it's not investing as well. So for anyone who is trading right now, think 4-hour charts for entry, kind of around those time frames, looking at daily trends, even weekly trends. So yeah, I mean, this is certainly not a trigger. It's not going to have me just instantly buy or sell, but from here I get a lot of structure. And you were talking about risk plans, but just a plan in general. Not just having a plan for measuring risk and protecting ourselves against those whipsaws, but also just a plan of attack of what am I even looking at? So the fundamentals can be really messy. We get some good things coming out of the dollar. We get some bad things coming out of the dollar. And this is kind of that end of day tally, if you will, just has the overall news favored whatever currency you're looking at, or has the news really put some pressure on the currency. And then from there, we just kind of go to the charts and we try to apply whatever entry methods we're looking for.
Got it. Now, Walker, do you do anything with relative strength? I know you, Alex, tweet this pretty much every single day. If you want to follow Alex, he's at Who's Trend on Twitter. But Walker, do you base any decisions off of relative strength?
Well, I don't blindly follow relative strength, which is interesting because I probably trade shorter term charts than Alex, but I always start with a very macro picture, and then I want to get down with a magnifying glass for my entries and exit.
Okay, Alex, if you want to unshare your screen, Walker, if you could share your screen, we'll get back to you, Alex. And as we do that, if you have questions, definitely type them in the chat if there's any pairs that we want to get into. As Walker's sharing his screen, Walker, I'd like you to walk through kind of your strategy. I know Alex, he starts his day or his decision process with what is weak, what is strong right now, what are the opportunities that are out there? I want you to kind of dissect what your strategy is then.
Sure. And I said I start macro and I start with the fundamentals. So again, prepare to have your brain explode with this, but I'm going to show you a glimpse of a graph that goes all the way back to 1967. Now, you may be thinking, what on earth is a guy trading on a short graph looking back at 1967 for? But if you go all the way back to Lyndon Baines Johnson and his election, you could see that every October from that time, we have had a strong bias for the buck. Now, seasonality is kind of like weather patterns. It doesn't mean that the dollar has to be strong, but it's kind of like here in Texas, it's typically hot in August. If it's cool, hey, we get a little break from the strong heat, but typically in election years in October, the dollar is strong. So I base my entire strategy around this concept that typically going back for the last 53 years, the dollar has been strong in election seasons. And then I'll dig into the shorter term graphs, the relative strength and things like that.
Cool. So a lot of futures traders also do that as well. They look at seasonalities. I don't know if you trade futures or anything, but I mean the seasonality is just it's all about putting the odds in your favor, right?
Absolutely. And the big one right now is actually going to be natural gas. I know this is a little off topic because it's the Forex Showdown, but
We do it
for
all
your
here.
futures for your futures traders out there, yeah, you've got to look at gas, oil, and also natty gas is huge in October for these seasonal trends.
Got it. Since we have your screen up right now, why don't you let's walk through your strategy as far as maybe pull up like the euro dollar or something right now and just kind of see what's going on with the euro and the dollar, especially with the dollar being, historically strong coming up in October, if there's possible opportunities there. And as our listeners, our viewers are watching, there's no recommendations here. This is strictly for entertainment, mostly my entertainment, but hopefully you guys like it too. Also, make sure to give a thumbs up if you like what we're talking about and definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel here.
Yes, definitely for educational purposes. We know that the dollar is typically strong. Now, what I like to do is certainly the old cliche, I want to buy low, I want to sell high, I want to sell high and buy low. But for me, it's all about timing momentum in the market. So what I want to do is just outline an area that's really interesting to me where I can see where there's overhead. You can call it resistance, you can call it supply, but I want to see the compelling forces of the market come in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
So to just put the two connections together, first I'm looking for dollar strength. Well, if I'm looking for dollar strength, I'm looking to perhaps sell the euro dollar. So I go to an area where I expect the euro to turn lower.
So you're looking for a
And
reason to get in this trade then. Why do I need to be in or out?
that's right, because think of it like a highway. You want everything to align in one direction. I want the fundamentals to align. I want the technicals to align. I want the headlines to align. The more things that I can have in my favor, the better.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alex, you do a lot of more trend trading. Would you consider that kind of the same style with the momentum like Walker's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing these longer term things, I mean, momentum's gonna be kind of it's gonna be like a cycle. So I will look at momentum when I'm trying to enter. If I'm trying to buy, I like to see the bearish momentum kind of diverging with price, vice versa. So I mean, yeah, with the longer term stuff, momentum's involved, but it's not like a shorter time frame where throughout the entire trade the momentum's going to be there. Momentum for the longer swing trades is you can see kind of the divergences at the beginning and at the end, and then when you're in the middle, when the trend is just kind of there, then it's normally slow and steady. You're never in the direction of the trend. You rarely get really big leaps in the direction. You get the slow grind, which causes a lot of people to be really hesitant. And so you'll see the chart just kind of grind up in a slow kind of momentum way. People have a hard time getting into that. So yeah, I mean, for the entries and exits, I think momentum plays a big role into what I do.
Got it. If you want to share your screen, Alex, Trade Dime is wondering, can you discuss the New Zealand dollar? If you want to just pull up a New Zealand dollar chart, share your screen, Alex, and then just kind of analyze what what are some opportunities out there. As we know, this is just strictly for entertainment purposes only, but this common theme that we're talking about is, you guys have a pretty similar strategy, and I know I've known both of you guys for a couple years now, but similar, but yet a little bit different. But you have one common theme, and that's proper risk management, right? you have to have a risk management plan, and everybody should have a risk management plan. So maybe just walk through, what a new trader could do as a risk management plan with, so let's just say, the New Zealand dollar.
So yeah, just as requested, I got New Zealand dollar up here. So I have a layout of 4 screens. This is the monthly chart, and here's the weekly chart. In the bottom left-hand corner, I've got the daily chart, and then in the upper left-hand corner, I have the 4 hours.
So much larger time frames then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it gives you a little lay of the land there. Primarily, I am strategy-wise, I'm more of a pullback. I like to go with the trend. So actually, before even jumping onto this, maybe I should have just brought this up. Walker was talking about how seasonally the dollar is stronger, and I do believe as well that we should see more dollar strength on this daily chart in the bottom left-hand corner. It's just the daily chart of the dollar index. So, you can definitely see momentum is to the upside, and we're having what seems to be a little bit of a pullback. So kind of with that information, just kind of in our minds, and then bringing into relative strength, there's something amiss here. There's a conflict. I am anticipating the dollar to really strengthen against all of its counterparts, as it's been in a daily uptrend, and I think it's going to continue that, as the seasonal says. But look at the relative strength here. With the dollar information, the dollar being stronger, I would prefer to go short New Zealand dollar. But when I'm looking at this relative strength, what this is telling me is that the dollar hasn't been able to strengthen enough to really beat New Zealand. The dollar is strong against the majority of the currencies in this list. But the 2 currencies it's not stronger than is New Zealand and yen. So right here, and I know this was a directed question, so we can still talk about New Zealand dollar, but right here would be a really big sticking point for me.
Yeah.
I come to New Zealand, I come to relative strength thinking the dollar is going to be stronger, and it's not. So really, New Zealand dollar is more of a I don't really want to mess with it right now. I mean, because I could go either way. I could take the seasonal long dollar trade, or I could take the relative strength long New Zealand trade. So, really something like Aussie dollar, which is almost like a sibling, if you will, of New Zealand dollar. I'd prefer to look at something like that, just because of what the relative strength is telling me. But
yeah, that's a really good point, Alex, because there's a lot of traders and investors out there that feel like they have to be in a trade all the time, right? This is okay if it's not telling you, okay, there's a high probability opportunity. Why even look at it, right? So to answer your question, Trade Dime, I mean, does it make sense to even put any capital at risk if the relative strength isn't there?
Right. Yeah, and I think patience plays a lot in this game. We do, as traders, we can be active at certain times, but a part of the job is also knowing just kind of when to sit and wait. It's a Jesse Livermore quote. So if anyone's read Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, you might know where I'm coming from. So, just to kind of wrap up New Zealand dollar, as far as like the 4 hour goes, and bringing in what Walker was talking about, we can see here with this indicator at the bottom, it's just a rate of change indicator. It's made by the same guy who created RSI. But basically, rate of change is just a momentum indicator. So, if I was bearish New Zealand dollar, I would be kind of looking at how momentum is starting to diverge with what price is doing. We can see price is still going up, but momentum is diverging. So, as soon as we get that first nice high quality supply zone, we get some kind of rally base drop. We really start to see bigger red candles coming in. If we were wanting to take this in the direction of dollar strength, then I think it would be better to approach it then. And then, of course, always using stops. I'm really big into risk management. I don't risk a lot per trade because I sometimes have 15, 20 trades going. So I am a very diversified long-term trader. But New Zealand, I would just be careful with at the moment. There's a lot of conflicting things going on.
Sure. I'm glad you brought all that stuff. If you want to unshare, and if Walker, if you want to get ready to share your screen, I got a question. We got a lot of questions in the chat. If you want to pull the pound dollar up, but I'm glad you kind of explained that because there's we kicked off the show. There's so many different strategies and there's different ways you can approach the market. I'm actually bullish the New Zealand dollar, right? So as long as you have the proper risk management, I mean, you got to put your capital on the line, but if you put the proper risk management and you have a plan, you just got to follow your plan no matter which time frames are you using. So, so Walker, if you could pull up the pound dollar, we've had actually a couple different questions on the pound dollar, and actually glad somebody asked about this question because we were supposed to have another guest on the show today, and I hope he's watching or he watches this recorded because we're a little upset that he didn't make it today. I'm not sure why he's here or not here, but he's been talking about the pound dollar for quite some time. He's been going nuts about this pound dollar. I don't know if you guys have seen that at all, but just let's if you could,
missing musketeer.
He's the missing musketeer. He's on the intro picture, so I think everybody knows who we're talking about. But maybe next time he'll make it, and he's not so busy for us small folk, right?
Sure. No, I'll definitely talk about the pound dollar. One thing I just want to expound on real quick with the dollar index to Alex's point. One thing I do is a lot of price patterns. Okay. And you may have noticed that the dollar index is making this nice bullish flag pattern. And for me, it's not that I'm not concerned that price is trending down, but if I have a bullish bias here, I'm actually starting to look for some breakouts on the dollar index. And if that breaks out to the top side in line with this pattern, what do we think is going to happen to the pound dollar? Okay. So just a basic extension of this pattern that takes us to 95.28. Now, if the dollar index is up, for me, that means that my bias for the pound dollar should be what direction? Yeah. Again, without even looking at the pound dollar chart, just based off of the seasonal effect, based off of the DXY chart, when you hop on over to the GBPUSD, you've already got a built-in bias. And for me, I never want to guess at direction. I never want to guess if I'm buying or selling. So these things start to come up where I think, yeah, maybe I'm a little more inclined to sell the pound dollar than definitely buy. Mm-hmm. And you can see all this overhead resistance here. And I think I might have mentioned I do a lot of SNR plays. And again, depending on your time frame of use, to be quite frank, I believe in the fractal theories of markets. A good line of SNR support and resistance should be good on a 5-minute chart, just as it's good on a daily or a 4-hour. But you got to respect this nice area of overhead resistance on the pound dollar. And for me, it's right in this wheelhouse of 29.55 up to about 130.35 and change. Now, again, will it hold? Will it not? I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball, but you have to respect the fact that going back for the entire month of September, every time that it's come into this area, what's price done? It's fallen back down.
Yep.
So lining up the fundamentals with the seasonality, with the support and resistance plays here, my bias is to actually start looking for momentum to shoot down. This is where I'll drop into shorter term time frames to see the actual crest or the turn of the market. And then if this trend is going to continue, you better believe it. I'm shooting for a new low on this one. If the downtrend continues, that puts us, let's use one of the quarters just for our unattending guest here. Let's stick it out at 26.75.
There you go. We won't say his name today. That one we don't speak of. It's like that movie. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that one we don't speak of. So, what do you think about you're big into fundamentals? Have you been paying attention to the Brexit vote, all this stuff that's coming out? I believe it's middle of October this month, right?
Absolutely. And I actually have a lot of friends that work for large Forex brokers in the UK. And you've got to believe that it's going to affect the economy of Britain. They're estimating a loss of nearly $1 trillion coming down through High Street in London. And all the major firms, whether they'll say it or not, they're cutting back. And tack this on with all of the other international global issues out there, for me, fundamentally, it's not looking too pretty for the pound.
Got it. No, Walker, you do a Facebook page and a newsletter or something like that, don't you? Let's explain that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. And this is kind of a passion project of mine. I know everybody's been locked inside for the last few months. And believe me, after a few months, I just got completely bored, probably like everybody else. So what's it got to do? I just started typing out a newsletter, and it's a free newsletter. I have a email list that you can join by emailing me at wenglandfx@gmail.com. And every Tuesday, what I'll do is go through dollar pairs, yen pairs, and cross pairs, and just really show traders what I'm looking at and these price action patterns that interest me.
Got it. If you want to unshare your screen, that'd be great. So everybody, the email is wenglandfx@gmail.com for the newsletter. And then you have a Facebook page. Also on Twitter, it's WEnglandFX at Twitter. So now, Alex, do you I've been noticing you've been doing some different things on TradingView, some different I don't know if they're articles or if it's just insight on the market. What do you got going on right now?
I mean, I play with TradingView quite a bit. I make my own indexes. I'm trying to think of anything special.
You teach some classes and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I teach for Online Trading Academy. At the moment, I do really just their online classes. Any physical classrooms have been shut down until we get over this coronavirus. So I was doing that, but really just an independent trader. I post stuff on Twitter, things that kind of catch my eye. Sometimes I just, you find great things on Twitter. You have to retweet. Like, what was it? It's kind of Kramer. What was it? Kramer giving up and saying, talking bad about all the Tesla shorts. And how he's going to start going long. So I just I saved that tweet because I want to see what happens in a couple weeks or a couple months. We'll see if Kramer put the high in for that high flying. What is it? Texas.
That's crazy. He's always got some great insight on the market, doesn't he?
I know. It's great. When he says I'm going long, it's ominous.
Got it. So where can people find you? You're on Twitter. It's at Who's Trend. Anything else?
That's really it. I mean, other than the classes that I do for Online Trading Academy students, I'm really just posting on Twitter. Like I said, I do my relative strength. I'll post that. I'll post other things. I do my own research. Post a lot of correlations. So if you come on my Twitter, nothing really structured, but like I said, anything that stands out as I'm trading, I kind of go, oh, that's kind of neat. I like to post that thing, post it out. I'm not really posting like by the minute trades.
Sure.
So those are hard to manage, and I'm not really here to trade for others, but I will post what I'm looking at. And I normally, when I post a picture, if I'm in the trade, I have the arrows, I have the order lines. So I really try to post things before I get into them, rather than kind of posting something going, hey, look how great this worked out. I mean,
only the winners, right?
Yeah, only the winners. So, but that's where I am. I'm on Twitter.
Got it. Cool. Yeah.
And here, buddy. It's good to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, it's a fun time doing the show. We've had a lot of comments on here. It looks like several people have taken both of your classes, even the one that we don't speak of. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
um, looks like, yeah, looks like a lot of people have been around your stuff and your in analysis and your strategies for a while. And it's just interesting how, there is so many strategies that are out there. You want to find the right strategy for what you're looking to do in the financial markets, but you have to have the proper plan, the proper risk management plan. And so it doesn't really matter what type of strategy you're doing, as long as you follow that plan that brings consistency. So I appreciate you guys' insight on the show here today on Forex Daily Dimes. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, give it a thumbs up if you like everything. Give it a thumbs down if you missed out on some of the stuff. That's okay too. It also helps the algorithm. So I appreciate everybody coming. I'm on the show here today, and we will be back shortly. Until then, retire young, my friend.